If you're thinking about moving to San Diego, you are going to want to stay tuned. We're getting into a nice list of items. Some of the items are things people ask us, especially if they're purchasing a house out here, what it's like to live out here. We've lived our whole lives out here. So some stuff, some little insights that you might only know if you've lived here your entire life. So let's get into it right now.
So first up, property taxes. This is a question we get asked a ton. California is known for having high taxes in general, but property taxes really isn't one of them. Kind of across the board, just as a general rule of thumb, it's 1% of the purchase price of a home. But there are some nuances to that too, because there are a lot of areas around here where there's extra little city taxes, there's extra Melloroos if you live in a master plan community that can bring that number up just a little bit.
And one of the biggest things that is a benefit of our property taxes, yes, we're kind of in the middle as far as the U.S. property tax goes wise, but the elevated prices, so the actual number is a little bit higher, but there's a cap on how much property taxes can go every year. So it's capped at 2% every year. So I know some states like Texas and other places around the US, it goes up and can get reassessed at any time. Here, it only goes up a max of 2% every year. Another super important thing if you are purchasing a home is homeowners insurance. And over the past few months, just even earlier this year, we have seen some big insurance providers bounce out of San Diego, out of California even, where they're not providing homeowners insurance anymore. My guy that we used to, Jake from State Farm, that's literally my guy's name. We used to send everybody to him if they needed a referral out here. Unfortunately, State Farm is not offering that anymore. And there's a few other big companies that have gone away. So two things that have happened. One, interest premiums or insurance premiums have gone up a little bit. So with current homes and stuff, when they're getting reassessed, they might go up, especially if you're in high fire zones or, as you purchase a home out here, you'll get a report that shows what kind of zone you're in, but also the insurance company has that. And then just with less insurers out here, the premium is also going to be a little bit higher. So expect to pay a little bit more right when you get into escrow. We're always recommending start looking at that, start talking to brokers or your insurance people to see how much it's going to be first off. And then second off, because like I said, it'll vary depending on what type of fire zone you're in. And then second off, just make sure that your current insurance provider does have it. If not, you got to look elsewhere.
And also one of the questions we get a lot about insurance is earthquake insurance. It is available here. Just in general, not everybody gets it. It's definitely an add-on. It's not very expensive, which is a reason though some folks that we helped just go ahead and get it because it's just not that much of a charge.
Yeah. And one other thing with fire insurance too, what we've seen a few times, and it's happening in other counties like Orange County, but it's coming to San Diego County, is if you are getting insurance, you're going to have to get a 4-point inspection where they're checking out the roof, the HVAC, and a few other systems to see, first off, can they write a policy on it? And second off, how much is it going to be? So that is going to be coming into effect. Stay tuned here. We're going to make a video on it to let you know as it does come to San Diego.
So if you're living here and you really want to know what's going on, there are a ton of local festivals and events here in San Diego. Really easy to find them, especially if you've got kids. There are a ton of activities here in San Diego, but one of them is in the month of October. There are a whole ton of free events that kids get to do, museums, some of the local attractions around here. So definitely something to check out.
And with San Diego being the capital of craft, you got to know there is a beer week every year here in San Diego. It's actually like 10 days, but where local breweries are having special events throughout the week. They're brewing special beers. The tap rooms are going to have special beers throughout the thing. So if you dig beer, you could look forward to that event every year.
And I think now there's even maybe more than one beer week in the year. But
beer year.
Beer year, exactly. But there's also a lot of other cool things kind of in that same food and beverage. You've got a taste of, which is, they've got a taste of Carlsbad, you got a taste of Leucadia, Cardiff, Encinitas. There's a whole bunch of them where a whole bunch of restaurants kind of get together and you get to try just little dishes from a whole bunch of different spots. Also tastings too. So there's like beer and wine as well. And then kind of throughout San Diego, you've got ton of farmers markets. Something we're not really known for is being a farming community, but there are still a lot of farms kind of on the outskirts of San Diego. And then you've got a whole bunch of street fairs. The Encinitas street fair is one of the most popular kind of here in the area too.
Next up on the list is knowing all the neighborhood personalities. Every neighborhood, every city has different personalities as far as, is there nightlife? Is it walkable? Is it kind of an outdoor community where you have trails and parks? Or is it more kind of that city living where you have a bunch of cool bars and restaurants? Every little neighborhood, every little city is going to have different personalities. And on this channel, actually, we have a ton of, we're exploring different cities and different neighborhoods. So So go check out those videos because, like I said, we can't get into it too much because there's just so broad. There's so many of them. So we have like hundreds of other videos where you can learn about all these neighborhoods right here in San Diego.
So if you are thinking about moving to San Diego and you just want to pick our brains about what some of these neighborhoods are all about, kind of what the vibe is of them, definitely get in touch with us. We are real estate agents here in San Diego. So dial that number or text that number that's coming up right now, and we've got your back when moving to San Diego. Next up is kind of that eco initiatives that are happening kind of in our neck of the woods. It's all very city specific. For instance, Encinitas has a couple of new ones. You can't have gas blowers if you're a landscaper or you yourself can't use a gas blower anymore. It's got to be electric or battery powered. Also, if you're building new construction, a new home, you can't put in gas appliances. So a lot of cities within San Diego County are all kind of moving in that direction of that eco-friendly footprint for homes and for kind of areas as well.
Also throughout San Diego is water conservation is pretty big since we are pretty dry for most of the year. It's supposed to be raining right now. You should be hearing rain in the studio, but it's not. It's actually nice. So we don't get a ton of rain, but with that comes water conservation. So certain times of the year, watering your lawns is restricted, washing your car. We haven't been in that sort of a drought in a while, but it definitely can happen. So just kind of be aware of that. A lot of drought tolerant plants and yards and front yards just to make it a little bit easier, and some incentives through different cities. So if you take out grass and you put that in, you might get a rebate. And then other, like I said, city by city, other rebates for rain barrels and whatever it might be. But there's a lot of different little things depending on where you end up. And then just a little item is trash day. If you've seen our vlogs, you've seen every day we're out is trash day, but we have the normal trash bins. We have the blue recycle bins, and then we have like a green and compost bin. You will find a lot of houses do have those 3 trash cans, the green ones also for yard waste and that kind of stuff. Not a big deal, but something that you will see when you get out here.
If you're purchasing a home here in San Diego, definitely we recommend 3 inspections when you're in escrow. So just a general home inspection, inspector goes through and looks at all the systems and gives you indication if something is not up to par. We also suggest getting a sewer inspection. This isn't as important in kind of newer construction, newer homes kind of built in the 2010s up, but for especially neighborhoods like Poway and Escondido and places where you have homes that were built in the 50s and 60s, you see a lot of cast iron pipe. And if that hasn't been replaced in a long time or ever, there's usually some issues. So that sewer inspection is a very important one, especially because that's not the funnest upgrade, especially because you're tearing up driveways and walkways and all that. So just like to get ahead of it with that one. And then termite inspection, just know that they will find termites or some kind of dry rot or some kind of fungus. We see it in every single house here in California, and termites are not that scary. It's easy to get rid of them, and then the woodwork, it ends up being the highest cost of that.
Now, what about the importance of location? A lot of people we talk to want to move out here because obviously the beautiful beaches we have. I'm cutting some B-roll right now. You guys could see how beautiful the beaches are. And honestly, when you move out here, you know, there's certain parameters. You're like, I want to be close to the beach. I want to be within 15 minutes of the beach. That's not a lot of times where people end up moving that do move out here. 15 minutes from the beach, yeah, it's not that far, but even 25 minutes from the beach is still not that far, especially like cutoffs. I would say once you get out to the 15 corridor and you're in the, let's start in the north to Escondido and Poway and Scripps Ranch, and then you get down south to Santee and stuff, those are pretty far. So if you want to be by the beach, you want to be accessing the beach maybe weekly, then you're going to want to be more coastal than that. But if you're looking at the 5 freeway and you want to be west of the 5, which a lot of people eyeball, obviously the houses are going to be more expensive up there. And yeah, you're going to be super close to the beach, but there's a lot more housing stock kind of on the east side of the 5 where you're honestly not too far. There's a ton of different little corridors to cut down to the beach. There's a ton of different little ways to get. There's a ton of different beaches, obviously. So it's really going to, like, if your location specific and you want to be near the beach, there's a wide array of, you know, different little areas that are going to work for you.
And just to add on to that too, San Diego does have pretty good microclimates, like with the coastal zones and everything. So there's going to be a pretty big swing from, say, Carlsbad coastal to San Marcos. It could be, 10-degree difference sometimes. And that kind of marine layer kind of tends to stick around a little bit longer in those coastal regions also.
Which might be one of the benefits of living in kind of one of those a little bit further inland areas where you get the warmth, you get the sun, you don't get as much marine layer as the coastal areas, but you can still shoot down to the beach pretty quick.
If you're moving out here and thinking about doing a little bit of work to a house, building a home, something to think about is the building regulations and kind of the rules about what you can do zoning wise here in San Diego. And it's really going to depend on what city you're in. Are you in the city of San Diego, which is a huge area that's handled by the main city building? And then there's also the county of San Diego, which is another huge area. And then you've got the small cities that are incorporated that have their own building departments like Carlsbad, Encinitas, Oceanside, Escondido. And so all of these different city building departments also have their own nuances, things that they let through, work through, don't allow. So if you're looking to do that, that's just something to look into. There is a big section of the coastal area of San Diego that is in the coastal zone, which means that you're dealing with the Coastal Commission for any major remodels and new construction. And that just adds time, hurdles, dollars, all of those things. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And one thing, even if you're not looking to build, there's been a lot over the past few months, even over the past few year or so, we've seen a lot more of kind of backyard ADUs. So even if you are not planning on building something or remodeling, maybe your neighbors are. Like maybe you have this gorgeous view and somebody builds an ADU. Like it's weird. We've seen, like, I'm going to bring up this story right now. You could see this article, and somebody built an ADU, and it's a 2-story ADU in kind of a 1-story neighborhood and blocked a view. And I think we're going to start seeing more of that as San Diego is in a housing crisis. There's not enough houses, and it's just expensive to purchase a home out here. A lot of people are turning to ADUs, build an extra little granny flat or whatever for maybe some rental income, that kind of thing. Like I said, it's not just specific to your property. You got to look around and see what kind of things are going around, because there's some new initiatives going in. State of California, they're optional. No cities in San Diego have taken them up yet, but where certain areas are going to be able to potentially build more density in these residential neighborhoods. Now here in San Diego, we do have a huge military presence. You have Camp Pendleton to the north. You have Miramar in the center. You have down in Coronado. Anywhere else? What am I missing?
Navy is down right near downtown also.
There we go. We got a lot here. Anyways, so with that comes some things you got to think about with military bases around. One of the biggest being noise. So if you're living up by Camp Pendleton, even down south, there's going to be doing some trainings out there. Yeah. At certain times, which they'll let you know, or you could go check out their website. And it kind of sounds like this big boom, like, you know, they're dropping big explosives out there, and you could feel it. Like even when I used to live down in PB, I could hear it down there as well. So anyways, that's something, but also they're going to be flying helicopters around. You're going to see planes around. There's also a few airports, obviously San Diego Airport. If you're in that flight path, it's very loud. Been out at Liberty Station, and it's right in the flight path, and you like, we'll have a conversation, have a beer at Stone, and you're like, got to stop your conversation.
Yep.
Okay. Plane flew over, but there's other neighborhoods right up there too that they do fly over. If you're living down there, we have friends that live down there. You get used to it. It just becomes part of life.
Yeah. White noise.
Yeah. But if you want to avoid that, there's certain areas that will be in the flight path. Even up in North County too, you have Palomar Airport, not as big of planes coming in, but that flight path goes all the way back through San Marcos. You could hear and see the planes cruising through there as well.
Maybe the most important item on this list, depending on who you ask, is California Burrito. It is something that you see kind of tried to be replicated across the country, but it was born here in San Diego. It is a San Diego thing, and I don't think anybody makes it quite like our spots here in San Diego. So the ingredients on a true California burrito, there's 6 of them, so I'm going to count them off for you. Carne asada, cheese, sour cream, guacamole, French fries, which is the most important, and salsa fresca, which I always get it without.